Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to the February 2024 channel update, the Shelf of Shame Challenge edition. You know those games I'm talking about, right? The war games that you bought with such anticipation and excitement, and for whatever reason, life circumstances, some other game, they're still sitting there on your shelves, sometimes still even in shrink wrap, screaming at you to be played, and you wake up at 4 a.m. in the middle of the night saying, why haven't I played that game yet? And they gnaw away at you with guilt and shame. Well, I've got an answer perhaps for that. The Shelf of Shame Challenge. Now, I want to talk about, this is the channel update, so I want to talk about the regular content in the update first. If you want to navigate to the Shelf of Shame, please use the categories below to navigate to that right away. Also, in this episode, we'll be giving away our $50 Noble Knights gift certificate, so please stick around to the end of the competition if you're one of the more than 100 people who entered into that competition. We'll be drawing our winner today. Connected to that, of course, Noble Knight Games is one of our channel sponsors. They sell war games, both new and used, board games, both new and used, a variety of role-playing supplies, role-playing game supplies and stuff like that, as well as other gaming merchandise. They ship internationally with very competitive prices, so if you're looking for something new in gaming, you might want to check out their site. The link is down below in the channel description. One last announcement before we take a look at the numbers behind the channel. San Diego Games Historical Games Convention is holding their Winter Quarters Edition, an online conference on Saturday, February 3rd. It runs Europe-friendly time, so it starts at like midnight here in the US, so it runs for 21 hours. So if you're both in a European time zone or US time zone, and it will overlap as well with parts of Asia, of course, too, because it's going to run for 21 hours, and you're looking for something to do on Saturday, February 3rd, tons of designers, Mark Herman, Volko, Jason Matthews, all holding sessions, discussion panels, demoing new products and things like that. It's a great way, for $10, it's a great way to spend some quality wargaming time and meet some new people and listen about new and upcoming games and learn how to play games and things like that. There are a few tickets left. I'll put a link down below in the description, so if you're looking for something to do, I'll be there. I hope to see you there. And now into our channel update core content. As always, we start with a look at the numbers. If you recall from the last episode, I was hoping that the numbers for December, for the first time, would crack 100,000 views on the channel. Did we accomplish that? Well, okay, in November, the views were 80,000, and I was hoping to crack 100,000 for December. Now, they've been 100,000 before when I only had one YouTube channel. I didn't have the PC gaming channel off on the side. Once I split the channels, though, the wargaming numbers dropped down to about 60,000 views. They're coming back up now. 80,000 in November. Did we hit 100,000 in December? Because the January numbers aren't in yet. Did we hit 100,000 in December? The answer is 97,000. Missed it by that much. 3,000 viewers short, so we had 97,000 views. As always, thank you to everybody who has watched views and watched videos over the course of the month and enjoyed the content. So maybe next month we'll get there to the magic 100,000 views. Hours watched, 7.9 thousand in November and 9.8 thousand in December. Subscribers were plus 500 in November and then plus 560 in December. Thank you, as always, to the people who have signed up and subscribed to the channel. It's great to always have new people aboard and hear fresh voices in the comments and stuff like that, too. Speaking of which, it's also a time I want to mention a big thank you to Patreon supporters. Here are all the Patreon supporters of the channel. And we have one new supporter between the last updates. Scott Williams, welcome aboard and thank you for joining the Patreon. The support from Patreon is super helpful in being able to do all these things and create more content. So thank you as well to everybody. One other thing I'd like to share in these channel updates is just how I'm doing emotionally and stability-wise and fun-wise with creating content on the channel. January is a pretty good month, I think. I feel pretty good about how things are moving forward, with the caveat that I have two super busy times at work. It's the last half of January, kind of into the first week of February, and then the last half of May into the first week of June, because my work is connected to education, so it's really busy in the end of a semester and then the end of a school year here in the United States. And this is no exception. So the last couple of weeks have been really, really busy, but I'm happy that I've been able to create and build some videos over this time and have fun doing it. So it's been providing a nice kind of break from work coming in. And I'm also looking forward in the next few days to getting through that time. So I'll have more time to focus on creating videos and making content and playing games as well. Taking a reflective look on the content that's been created in January. It's been a lot of first look videos. There's been a number of games that have been to create first look videos for, connected sometimes with the Cube for Me tray sets that I also build. And then at the bulge off content too, which is reaching its conclusion. This should be the next video on the channel, will be the final episode for the bulge off. That's been a lot of fun to do. Reflecting with that, in case you haven't seen that, basically it's a look at we started with the top 20 as I could kind of identify World War II Battle of the Bulge games, and then had kind of a knockout elimination tournament to try to get them down, where people vote on games, head-to-head matchups, to get them down to the final game. We've got Ardennes 44 up against the last Blitzkrieg in this final culminating championship round, with the one before this, Ardennes 44 up against Enemy Action Ardennes, was the epic match where over 350 something votes. There was literally probably like 1 to 5 votes that separated them. Well, I'll talk about that in the next episode. I won't want to get too far into the weeds. That's been a ton of fun to do. And reflecting forward in terms of looking at future content on the channel, people have asked, would I consider doing something like that again? Absolutely. And I'll talk more about that, I think, in the last episode of the Bulge Off. But I definitely want to create more content along those lines, perhaps with different styles. Like I want to show more gameplay. I want to kind of talk more in depth about some of the games, maybe have a smaller set of games, but something like that, where the channel explores a thematic topic and digs into a set of games around that thematic topic, whether it's play length, whether it's solitaire, whether it's a particular battle or a particular war, like World War I games, or a particular campaign, or a game where there's even smaller sets, like if there's only 3 or 4 games on it. For example, like looking at the different versions of the Russian campaign. I think that might be a fun one to do as well. So lots of things I think to really explore with that idea, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing that in the future. The thing that hasn't been on the channel in January is gameplay playthroughs. And that's the thing, honestly, if I look at all of the videos that I like to make, those are some of the most fun ones that I like to do. Part of that's been due a little bit to the busy nature of work in January. So I'm kind of like, and I have some obligations to create the first look videos as well. So I've been trying to focus on those too. But going forward, I definitely want to get back into playthroughs as quickly as possible. And I'm almost ready to do a couple right now. And I'll talk more about those right now as we're looking forward to what's up on the channel. So coming up for February on the channel, we'll finish the bulge off. We'll have another episode of upcoming war games. Then there's a number of first look videos that I'm making. Still got like 4 or 5 left to create for those. But I want to very quickly get back into playthrough content. And now that the busy period of work is done, and I've kind of learned some of the games that I'm ready to play and create video content for, that should come. And in specifically, the next 4 games that should come up on the channel. It might change a little bit, but these will be the next 4 games that have playthrough content. It'll be the Battle of Khalkhin Gol from Princeps Games. I'm doing a 3-video series on that game, with the first look video, a gameplay overview, and then a full after action report on the Battle of Khalkhin Gol. So I'm looking forward to creating that. I've started creating it now too, so I'm really excited about that one. And then Most Fearful Sacrifice from Flying Pig Games. This is a game that I've been wanting to get to the table for so long and create content for. And I started playing it. I've been playing it, but I have the older rule set and the older scenario things, and I printed out the new rules from the website, but then the pages got all mixed up and my color printer isn't very good. I'm like, this is just, I really want the new rules. And they did, if I was checked now, they have an update kit for first edition owners, and I ordered that, and it's coming, I think, on Tuesday now. It was supposed to come on Sunday today, but it got delayed. So once that's in, then I should be able to start creating the playthrough video for A Most Fearful Sacrifice. It's also got the new charts, which is going to be helpful too, because I don't want video shots of like the old charts. They're going to be really hard to see too. So that's the second game. Other ones, it's going to be an option. It's going to be a viewer's choice between either 20th Air Force or 8th Air Force, the 2 games from Fortress Games. 20th Air Force covers the U.S. bombing campaign against Japan, and 8th Air Force covers the U.S. bombing campaign over Germany, both, of course, in World War II. And then lastly, We Are Coming Nineveh will be from Nuts Games. That's a game I've got on my learning table right now. That will be also a full playthrough kind of gameplay series for that one too. So those are the next 4. Something might shift a little bit in there, but that's roughly what I'm hoping to do and start working on in terms of February. So I think I should have more gameplay content coming up on the channel soon. It's the most fun to create, and I think it generally seems to be well received. People seem to like it too. Last but not least, a number of people have asked about the Stalingrad series that we were playing with SGS Games. That I have up. I got up to like episode 9. I think it's going to take to be 12 to finish the whole series. So it's right at this kind of critical, dramatic point in the series. I haven't played it since like the end of October. But people have asked a number of times, are you going to finish it? You're going to finish it? Yes. And I will. I don't know if I can finish it in February, but I want to get at least 1 or 2 videos back up on it and get that through, because I kind of want to know how it ends too. It's kind of this thing that you just get busy and stuff is moving. But I do want to keep on this channel digital turn-based war games that are very clearly most connected to board games in spirit and thematic principles. So definitely want to finish up that series, and I apologize for the huge delay in finishing that series up. And now for the main part of this channel update, the Shelf of Shame Challenge 2024. There's a bit of backstory here, so bear with me, but I am looking for your help in this. And I'm also wondering if this might be something you might want to join along in a variety of different ways. And I'll explain as we get there. So let me explain, and then I'm going to show you my Shelf of Shame. And I need help from viewers picking 3 of the games on the Shelf of Shame. And I'll explain all this as we go forward, so bear with me. But first up, let's start. So I generally don't let games that I bought and haven't played bother me. So I call my Shelf of Shame, by and large, the shelf of opportunity, right? So I want to play war games for fun. That's my priority. And I don't let the fact if I buy something and I haven't played it for a few months, it doesn't really eat at me, and I'm not going to let it guilt me out, because I really want to totally 100% focus. Work and life is stressful enough. I want 100% focus on having fun when I'm playing war games, right? So that's the goal. So I don't let it bother me. Having said that, I've got a number of games on my shelves now that it's like, yeah, you know, they're shifting from that shelf of opportunity mindset to kind of that shelf of shame. It's like, I really should have played this one by now, you know? And I don't like the whole have to and things like that, and necessity and need to play or should play, but I will want to play them too. That's the whole thing part of this. Now, I do think I have an excuse, right? So my excuse is this, bear with me. So I was gone from wargaming for like 25 years, right? And so when I came back to wargaming, I didn't have any war games published in the last 25 years, nothing. And I bought Sherman Leader to see if I would like it, played it and started liking it. I had some older Avalon Hill games and some SPI games and played those, like, this is actually pretty cool. And then I went to a San Diego Historical Games Convention, watched Suka Joe give a presentation on making videos about it. I'm like, oh, that might be kind of fun to do. So this whole kind of re-emergent engagement with war games started for me about 2.5 years ago, and I've had so much fun doing it. But what that means is I put aside some money as I came back in and said, okay, I'm going to put aside some money in this first year to buy some of the most iconic and classic war games that have come out in the past 25 years. And then I'm going to play those. I really want to play those games. That was all good and well, except about 1.5 years ago, as the channel grew kind of quickly in that stretch for about 9 months or so, it really had kind of a surge in growth. And at that point in time, I kind of started getting more promotional copies and review copies, and kind of the channel started focusing almost exclusively on newer games and new content. And because so much of my energy was there, it made it really hard to go back and take time and play some of those older games. And so now, if you watch the previous channel update, one of the goals for 2024 is to have a better balance between new games and new content and those kind of review copies, as well as exploring some of the classic games and bringing some of those to the channel as well. So what that means is I think I've got a structure in place now where I can start thinking about kind of hammering away on this shelf of opportunity/shame and dig into some of these games. So to advance the story, I've been thinking through the month of January, it's like, how am I going to approach like playing some of these iconic games? And I think, well, maybe I'll create some kind of a subset and then chop away at them a little bit and things like that. But I was watching a recent episode of The Player's Aid, and Alexander and Grant created a subset of their shelf of shame called 12 games that are older games that they absolutely want to play, 1 game per month in 2024. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to it down below. And if for some reason, I don't know why you don't know their channel, if you like this channel, you will love their channel because they've been doing this much longer. They're kind of icons in the field, if you would, of creating wargaming videos and wargaming content. So I'll put a link down below. You should definitely go check out their channel. But I thought something like the structure that they're doing would work here. And so I'm going to do something similar to that. However, Alexander has Grant to bounce off and Grant has Alexander to bounce off. I don't have anyone to keep me on track. So I was thinking, I might need some help with this. And that's where I'm thinking maybe we can make this a little bit of a group thing. So here's the structure that I'm thinking of doing, and I'd like to invite people to join in it. So in this episode, I'm going to carve off 10 games because we missed January. And so just a nice even number 10. That way, if someone screws up or I screw up in the course of a month, it's not going to break things. So I'm just picking off 10 games that I want to play that are iconic, like really kind of guilt inducing. I went through before this video. I looked at every game I have that I haven't played, and I narrowed it down to a bunch of games here that the 10 games I'm going to pick out. And I'm like, okay, these are the ones. These are the ones that are most guilt-inducing that I really, really want to play and I'm excited to play. And let's play these in 2024. So in the next part of this video, I'm going to go through and I'll show those 10 games. Having said that, for 3 of the games, I need your help because I have kind of sets and I want to ask people to vote on which one of the games from those 3 sets I should play. So I'm going to need your help, and there'll be there's polls on the community page of the channel to help me pick which one of the games from these subsets. But the rough idea, I want to create a subset of 10 games, play 1 game per month. With 1 game, you can allow for a total fail. And here's the thing. I would love to invite people to join in. And I'm thinking a lot of viewers might have your own Shelf of Shame where you could pick 10 Shelf of Shame games to play along the same way. Or perhaps you'd just like to play the exact same Shelf of Shame list that I'm playing, in which case that's cool too. And then a few people, as I come in talking about this a little bit on the Patreon support page, and people said, well, I don't really have 10 games on my Shelf of Shame. In which case, you could pick just 10 games you want to play, and those are the games that you're definitely going to play with 1 game per month. So it might be a game you played before, maybe it's a new game, however you want to structure it to kind of create a game of the month club, if you would, with mine being Shelf of Shame related, to kind of join in on the process. Then I'm thinking down below in the comments, if you create your list, you can post your 10 Shelf of Shame Challenge 2024 games in whatever format you want to do. Maybe you say, I'm just going to copy yours, or I got these are mine and stuff like that. And then we can chat about them here on like these videos and post in. And I'm even thinking too, let's also mention it. I'm thinking that I won't necessarily bring content for each one of these games, right? I just want to play them, right? And creating content is like 3 to 4 times the time commitment that this. So just all I'm committing to is playing the games. Having said that, some of them I know I will do playthroughs for. Some of them I'll do first look videos for. Then I'm also thinking maybe it'd be kind of fun to bring in a bunch of people that have played the same game, bring them onto a video and have a discussion and create like a live stream discussion episode or a video. We just share our thoughts on playing that particular game in the course of a month. So I will create some content for these, but I don't really quite know yet what type and how much it will be. Some might have none, some might have a lot kind of thing. So just to make sure that's pretty clear. So there you go. So I'm inviting people into this, but now let's come to the point where I want to pick the 10 games I've got. So, and these, I'll talk about everything as we go forward. So let's jump in and get started. My Shelf of Shame, 10 Shelf of Shame games for 2024. Shelf of Shame game number 1, and this will be the first game I play. I will be creating content for this one too, and this will be the first game I play in the challenge. So I don't know of the order of the other ones. This is the first one. This game takes us back to the Civil War, and we're going to July in particular of 1863. Massive game with one of the most beautiful maps in wargaming. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. Our first Shelf of Shame game comes in this massive box, A Most Fearful Sacrifice from Flying Pig Games. Now I'm going to be creating a playthrough content of one of the scenarios in this. And actually I'm kind of partly on my way in this. I've kind of got the rules like 80% down, and I've played through a part of the learning scenario. But as I mentioned earlier, I do have I got the updated version of the rules and scenarios and charts coming, and so I want to use those to create the content and really dig in. So once those arrive on Tuesday, I'm going to shift right into this, and we'll be creating video on it. But that's the game number 1, A Most Fearful Sacrifice from Flying Pig Games. Game number 2, which I may not play second. I'll play at some point, but I may not play second. Game number 2 is a People's Choice, Viewer's Choice game. There's a poll on the channel that has these 5 games in it. Help me pick which one to play. Okay. So this is a little bit embarrassing, right? People are going to be like, what? You haven't played those yet? Mark Simonich's Zone of Control Bonds series. I have 5 games in the series, and I've played a little bit of one of them, Salerno 43. Like I got the rules down, I started playing this, and then something happened where I had to shift off of it. But the other 4 I've picked up since I've come back to Wargaming. I haven't played them yet. I know this is embarrassing, right? So the 5 games are, I'll hold them up real quick. Normandy 44 is game number 1. Holland 44, game number 2. Stalingrad 42, game number 3. Salerno 43, game number 4, which I have played. That's the one I played a little bit of, but not really enough to say I've played it. And then lastly, from our Bulge Off, Ardennes 44, which is currently in the final of the Bulge Off 23 competition there. Those 5 games. Which one of these should I play? There's a poll on the channel. Pick it. Whichever one gets the most votes is the one that I will play as part of my Shelf of Shame. Now, I should also say, I might play more of these games and I might play other games and stuff like that. I'm not limited, but this is kind of like my base floor minimum that I want to get through these 10 games in 2024. And so that this is like, if I can do that, it's like, okay, this is a step forward kind of thing. Go help me pick. Of course, the zone of control bond system is so well known. People really love it. You learn one and you're kind of well on your way to learning the other rules for the other games in the series. And this, I think, will help me to get into that kind of getting a beachhead and playing more games in the series. So like if I could play Ardennes 44, for example, really kind of understand the rules and the gameplay and the network, the rules of that one, then it's going to be easy for me to extend off into the other games in the series too. And that's kind of a theme between some of these other things too. So game number 2, help me pick which one of the Zone of Control Bond series to play as part of the Shelf of Shame challenge. Game number 3 shifts us again out of World War II into a series of games from GMT Games, which I am happy to say I've played a number of games in 2023 in this series, but there's one game in particular that is probably the game that I have the most historical interest in playing, and it's probably one of the iconic games in the Coin series. Designed by Volkel Runke and Mark Herman, game I'm talking about, game number 3 in the Shelf of Shame challenge, Fire in the Lake. Now, I do hope to play, I have the solo bot for this game, and I want to play the solo bot version of this. I've only played Coin multiplayer, and I want to learn how to play it solo as well and explore that aspect of it. So this one I want to play solo. I also would, if I played it multiplayer, to be fair, that would be okay. That'd be fine too. But I think I probably want to try to dig into the solo version of this one. So game number 3, Fire. I mean, this is an iconic game, Vietnam War. I'm so interested in playing and learning more about it. So I'm really looking forward to playing this one and digging in. Game number 4 in the Shelf of Shame challenge does take us back to World War II. And as a kind of a quick aside, one of the things I hope to do with this is to play more non-World War II war games. For some reason, I seem to gravitate towards those, probably largely because of personal interest. But I want to expand the horizons and play more non-World War II games. So I've kind of created somewhat of a balance in this set, as we'll see as we get the whole thing. So game number 4, however, does take us back to World War II. This is I kind of one of the most iconic solitaire games that when I came back into wargaming, people said, oh, you have to play this game. Takes us to the air, a specific air combat campaign at kind of the operational level. You can play as either the British or the Germans. The game I'm talking about, of course, is RAF, The Battle of Britain, 1940 from Decision Games. I've heard so many good things about this as a solitaire. You can play it opposed too, but I think I want to play it solitaire. I've heard so many great things about this game. I can't wait to get it to the table, and it's been gnawing at me. Every time I walk back, it's like, oh my gosh, I really want to play RAF Battle of Britain. So that's the other game. That's your game number 4. Game number 5 in the Shelf of Shame challenge is Confess Something. I actually don't know much about this one other than Liz from Beyond Solitaire said it's her favorite solitaire game. And so that was enough for me to go get it. And it's been on my Shelf of Shame for the past, this hasn't been there long. It's been there like 3 or 4 months, right? But it's still on there. And it's like, oh, I have to play it. And I hear so many people saying good things about this one, especially the solo bot, which is named, I think it's Wakan or something like that. This game takes us to Afghanistan. It's a game of power and politics as you're trying to reunite Afghanistan. Still in its shrink, right? I do have a house rule for my home that I don't open up the shrink wrap unless I start to play the game or create content for it. So that's why some of these games are still in shrink wrap. I would love to have opened it up and poured through it yet, but I haven't. So this game is game number 5. I want to play this one against the solo bot and explore it because so many people have said just amazing things about this one. Pax Pamir from Whirlywig Games. Game number 6 takes us back to World War II. And this game is probably the simplest game of this, simplest in terms of easiest to learn and most accessible game in the whole War Games list that I have. This is the first game in a series of games. I've long been wanting to play this game as kind of exploring to see whether I think it would be a good introductory or beginner war game, and also because so many people have said just amazing things about it. This designer, I've played a lot of his stuff already. Both of them have played a lot of their stuff. Talking about Undaunted Normandy from David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin. This game, it looks like a ton of fun. It's been sitting on my shelf for a long time. There's no this one will be really fast to do, right? So I mean, it's going to be easy to open up, easy to play, easy to learn. I think it's going to be, I can be in the game in an hour. So this one might be good for a really busy month like May. Kind of saving it for that one might be a really good time. And Normandy would be good too, because then it would dovetail right with the June invasions, right, too. So that might be a good time for this one. Undaunted Normandy, the first in the Undaunted series from David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin, game number 6. Game number 7 in the Shelf of Shame challenge takes us to a People's Choice Award, Viewer's Choice. I've got 5 non-World War II war games, and I put a poll up on the channel. Go vote for which one of these 5 you think I should play. First up, Zulus on the Ramparts, the Battle of Rorke's Drift. This was a game that got recommended to me. It's an older game, got recommended to me as part of like the best solitaire videos. When I made that, people said, oh, you should get this game and play it. Looks like a pretty accessible and a pretty fun one, but as a solitaire game, I've heard I should really be playing that one. I picked it up a while ago and it's been sitting on my shelf since that point in time. Now, the second game here is a game I've actually played some of, but not enough of. Almoravid, which is the second game in the Levy and Campaign series. Gorgeous map. I believe I did an unboxing, kind of a first look video of this one. Learned how to play it. I set up the first time, I played through some of it, and then just life got busy, and I wasn't able to finish the game, and I've been like stuck there. And then I moved it off the table, and that was it. So I'm really looking forward. I love the Levy and Campaign series, and I played a ton of Nevsky. I really like it. I want to expand off into Almoravid. It should be a quick learn for me too if this one were selected, because I already kind of know the rules for Levy and Campaign series. Third one is kind of part of a series as well, Path of Glories from World War I. It's another one, epic strategic game on the kind of the strategic level, World War I. I kind of want to play that one because there's also like Pursuit of Glory, Illusions of Glory. There's a whole series in there, and I figured that would help me get into those games as well. The fourth one as well, like Almoravid, it's a game I've actually played, but not enough to call it complete or like I really played it per se. Hill of Doves from Legion Wargames. I played this one twice and I lost both times. And so I want to play it and I want to beat it. That would be the exit condition for this one. It is, of course, a solitaire game of the First Anglo-Boer War. Lastly, we go back to Mark Simonich for game number 5, the U.S. Civil War, strategic level U.S. Civil War game. This is the 5th option in our list. Please help me go pick which one of these 5 to officially include in the Hall of Shame, the Shelf of Shame challenge. Game number 8 is my second biggest guilt-inducing game. When I think about all these games that we're talking about, this one's the number 2. Number 1 is coming up at the very last, but this is number 2. It's when you talk about solitaire games, it's a game that a lot of people say, oh, this is my favorite solitaire game. It's playable both sides. It's a World War II game, playable as both sides, either as the Allies or the Axis, and there's a 2-player game as well. Designed by John Butterfield, I'm talking about Enemy Action Ardennes. I mean, I feel sinfully guilty for not having played this. I've read through the rules and kind of poked around a little bit, but I've not gotten to the point where I kind of set up the game and start playing. I really want to play this one. It's on the Shelf of Shame. I need to clear this one in 2024. And so it's on the list at our number 8, Enemy Action Ardennes, with this amazing solitaires. I've heard so many people say amazing things about it. So that one I'm super excited for. That one might be a good one for later in the year, for like November, December, as we trickle back into Battle of the Bulge time too. But it's on the list and I'm going to play it. Game number 9 is our third and final People's Choice Award. There'll be a poll on the community page of the channel. Please go vote for which one of these 6 World War II games you think I should play. I had 5 and then I added one more at the last condition here. So I'm going to go through these quickly. Game number 1, Unconditional Surrender, World War II and Europe, a strategic level game that's got kind of a lot of hypothetical options. I've heard so many people talk about this. I've seen videos on it. It looks like a ton of fun. I love games that have a hypothetical element, especially strategic level World War II games where it can branch off in a bunch of different ways. Another game that I have played, this is kind of in that Hill of Doves category where I've played it, I understand how to play it, I haven't beaten it, I haven't come close to beating it. D-Day at Omaha Beach. It's my favorite. I played it enough to know that I love it, but I want to play it to get to a point where I can beat it. So this one is kind of a little bit Shelf of Shame. I'm half done because I feel like I've played it a lot to know that I love it. It's my favorite solitaire game, but I have yet to beat it, and I've been distracted with all other kinds of things for like the last year and a half that I haven't got back to it, played it, and actually kind of gotten good at the game to the point where I think I can get close to beating it. Maybe beating it's impossible, but at least get close to it. Feel like I'm not getting crushed in the game. So that's game number 2. Out of Court, Still in Shrink from Multiman Publishing, the Battalion Combat series. I really want to play a game in the Battalion Combat series. I've heard Harcourt is a great starting position for this one. This is, of course, the Battle of Harcourt in 1944, World War II as well, because these are all World War II. Combat Commander Europe, tactical combat systems. I've been exploring them a lot this year in 2023. I want to keep doing that in 2024. This one, of course, on the probably the easier to learn end of tactical combat systems with some card play, a little more gamier perhaps than other tactical combat systems, but I've heard so many people put it in high regard. I got that copy cheap, used a while ago. Next up, target for today from Legion Wargames. Air combat, you take charge of a single bomber over World War II, and you kind of take charge of the crew and go on missions and things like that. From Legion Wargames, I think it's like Legion Wargames' best-selling war game. So many people, when I talk about air combat games and things like that, said, oh, you got to put target for today up on the channel and things like that. So that's the one here. And then lastly in our category, I love games that have individual soldiers as the counters. I've mentioned before on the channel that Sniper was one of my favorite games from a long time ago. I played that game until the map fell apart. This game feels like it's closest in spirit to that of the modern games that I've seen, talking about combat. Now there's combat and there's combat 2, and I'm thinking the campaign game, and I'd like to get into it enough to be able to play both of these. These came in recently, but they're on my shelf of shame because it's a system that I really, really want to play. So they kind of gnaw at me in particular, even though I haven't had them that long. So which one of those 6 games do you think I should play and include on the shelf of shame? Please go vote for it on the community page in the channel. Game number 10 is a really serious moment because this one is probably the game that creates the most shame and the most guilt for me on my entire Wargaming collection. I can't believe I have not played this one yet. I've actually learned how to play most of it. I'm probably like halfway done with learning the game, but I haven't gotten past that. So many people mention this as being simply their favorite game, their favorite war game of all time. It's got incredible ratings with the esteemed Mark Herman as a designer. I was talking on a forum a little while ago and someone said, I can't believe you haven't played that game. You got to go play that game right now. Empire of the Sun, World War II. Yeah, I haven't played it yet. I bought it. I love it. I looked at it. I'm so looking forward to it. Just got kind of wrapped up with other things and busy with other things. And it is an investment to learn, right? So I think some of these games fall into that category where you got to get over that learning hurdle before you're going to be playing. So it's not a matter of like pulling the game off the shelf and just playing it. Like the Undaunted game, that's going to be fast to play. Learning to play Empire of the Sun well enough to play it probably requires learning the game, playing a learning game, and then you're kind of digging into playing the game. So I want to make sure that when I'm talking about playing these games, it goes beyond just kind of playing a learning game. I want to get to the point where I feel like I played the game and I'm starting to understand some of the strategies, maybe not get good at it, but understand some of the strategies. So to my defense, I think a game like Empire of the Sun is a game you kind of have to put a little bit of investment on, both to understand the rules and then understand the strategy. There's 2 levels of challenge, if you would, I think, with that game. You thought we're done with 10 games, but bonus game time. Game number 11. In case I can actually play a game of each month of the year, I've included this bonus optional game. It's not going to cause me any shame or guilt, but I wanted to put in here because it is a game that really I feel like should be on the list. Interestingly enough, it's also a game I don't have yet. And you might be sitting there saying, like, how can a game you don't have be on your shelf of shame, dummy? That doesn't make any sense. Let me explain. This game is the latest standalone iteration in a series of tactical World War II games, combat games, that is a standalone game. I have the original game and the expansions, and I've played it a little bit, but I've not really got to the point where I say I played it, if that makes sense. I'm talking about Panzer North Africa from GMT Games and its resident Panzer series with its expansion. So I've played it, but it's like, no, I haven't really dug into the expansions. I haven't really got past like a kind of a rough understanding of the basic version of the game. So I'm thinking, okay, Panzer North Africa is going to come. I can dig right into that. This one might actually be the second game that I play coming up for February, even though it's kind of the optional game. I'm going to see how it works out and stuff like that. But again, getting at that tactical armored combat and tactical individual vehicle level kind of experience. And going back to Tobruk, Panzer North Africa is on one of my most anticipated games too, but I'm thinking I can use Panzer North Africa to get at kind of really digging into the rest of the Panzer series too. So Panzer North Africa, my optional 11th bonus game on the Shelf of Shame Challenge. So there you have it, my 10/11 Shelf of Shame Challenge 2024 games. I would love your help with this because I need someone, first of all, I need people to hold me accountable and ask how it's going. I would also love, if you can do things as a community, it's just easier. I would also love if people joined in with me into this, whether it's picking just 10, 11 games that you just want to play in 2024 that you haven't played yet, that could be new releases, or if you do have games that would quantify for your Shelf of Shame challenge, to create your own Shelf of Shame games list and post that down in the comments below. Or if you say, I'm going to play like half of the games together at the same month that you play them, things like that, because I'll talk about what game I'm going to play in the next month in each channel update, so we could do it kind of a play along and compare notes and talk about it in the comments and stuff like that. And again, I might create some other channel content related to that too. So I would love your help on this. Feel free to join in however you want. Please post down in the comments how you might do that. Looking forward to the Shelf of Shame Challenge 2024, starting, of course, with the most fearful sacrifice, of which there will be video content in February. And now the moment that many of you have been waiting for, it's time for us to pick our $50 store credit giveaway to Noble Knight Games. Thank you for them. This is part of the sponsorship arrangement with them. Thank you for them for their generosity in providing this. Got 92 names. So 92 people. We had over 100 entries. Some people had some entries that weren't correct. So I narrowed it down to the 92 people that had correctly entered the information here. I'm going to scroll down here with our random name picker. We're going to pick a name at random. Here we go. Who wins the $50 store credit to Noble Knight Games? At Joe7356 is our winner for this month. Thank you to everybody who's playing. I'll reach out, Joe, to the email that you provided in the contest to figure out just to make sure that we can get the right email address so we can get the store credit into your account at Noble Knight Games. Thank you to everybody who played. There'll be another giveaway coming up in February for $50 store credit to Noble Knight Games. Look for the upcoming Wargames a video coming out in probably less than a week or so for next month's competition. Second thing is there'll be also 2 other giveaways on the channel coming up soon. One is for a Cube for Me store credit. We're going to do a kind of get your life organized thing. They make a lot of storage trays for war games. They've got some great solutions. Link is down below, but we're doing a giveaway and a video about them too. And then lastly, check out the first look video for the Battle of Kalkin Gol from Princeps Games. That'll be coming out in just a few games as part of a promotional offer with them. I'm going to create a giveaway of a copy of the game when it gets released later in the year in Kickstarter. So look for that too. So 3 giveaways coming up on the channel in the upcoming month. And with that, we're drawing near to the end of this epically long channel update, but the Shelf of Shame Challenge took some time for sure. Love to hear your comments and thoughts on how to joining in or helping me or encouraging me or supporting me in the Shelf of Shame Challenge 2024. As we mentioned earlier, second thing, please go vote on the community page for the games. One of the 3 games that you want me to play to add in is the voter's choice kind of thing. Lastly, if you're looking for something else to watch related to the Shelf of Shame Challenge and coming up on the channel soon, here's a first look video created of A Most Fearful Sacrifice, which is the first game I'm going to play in the Shelf of Shame Challenge. Take care, everybody. See you in another video soon.